Today we're back in the kitchen and I want to make chili. It's cold out. I said in my other video that the weather in Indiana has kind of gone down the crapper, and it's continually maintained that crappiness. So today it's mid to upper 30s. The sun has peeked out a couple times, but it's cold. So I want to make chili. My lovely bride she's a school teacher and she does after school programs. So she's not going to get home for another, let me see, it's 4:30, another hour and a half or so. So I'm going to make her a big old pot of chili. I think it would be good on a cool evening like this evening. And the really cool thing is that when I was growing up, my mom always made chili that was soupy with elbow macaroni in it. And her mom always made real thick, heavy chili. And it's been an ongoing argument in our marriage for the last 25 years, whose chili's better. Now we all know that my mom's chili was better, but her mom's chili was pretty good too, just different. So my bride has always made chili the way that I like it. Well, this time I'm gonna make it the way that she likes it. And what I'm gonna do is I am going to replicate the restaurant Wendy's. I'm gonna replicate their chili, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. It's got a lot of meat in it, which is really good. It doesn't have any pasta in it. And it's a blend between soupy and thick. It's not real soupy, but it's not real thick. It's a good balance between the two. So today, we're gonna replicate Wendy's chili. That way, my lovely bride, when she gets home from school today, she can have an awesome supper on a nice, cool evening here in Indiana. So let's get started. Hey, what do you think of my overhead camera thing? That's pretty fantastic. And if you could only see how I rigged this up, you would be incredibly impressed. In fact, I'm gonna grab my GoPro and take a quick picture of this. You're gonna love this. I don't have the means for this big fancy overhead camera, so I've got this island thing in our kitchen that rolls around, and I rolled it up against one of our cabinets, and on the top cabinet, there's something inside that's holding down my tripod and holding my camera directly overhead. And I've got this really cool view. It almost looks professional. Pretty cool, huh? It's all about, in your videos, overcoming and adapting to what we have. Now I've got shadows and I can't do anything about that. That's just the lights in the kitchen. And I haven't gotten fancy lights yet. But one of these days, pretty cool, eh? So today we're making the Wendy's, the restaurant Wendy's style chili. And this thing is one of my favorite tools. It's made by Pampered Chef, but it allows me to do dry good measurements on one end, and that slides and you can do liquids here. So what I need to start with, let me find the dry side, is about a half a cup of onion. Now I assume that most of this stuff you can choose your own style. I am not a big onion lover, so this is just a sweet onion, and my wife doesn't care for onions either. All I'm looking for is a little bit of flavor from the onions into the chili. So let's chop this thing up. Alright, so I cut up my onion. It looks like about half of a medium-sized onion will work. I'm going to take all of my ingredients and I'm just going to throw them in the bowl together because they all end up in the pot together anyways. So half a cup is about half an onion. I don't have much left over, so we are definitely not going to waste it. And as you could see, I'm not one of those professional cooks that can slice and dice and all that kind of stuff like the fancy people. I just kind of go through it however I can. And not real pretty, but effective. And I left the pieces kind of large. I don't know, they'll cook down. It'll be good. It'll be good. Okay, the next thing that we need, let me get all the onion out of my little thingy here. So the next thing that we're going to need is about a 1/4 cup of a diced green pepper. So we have a green pepper, and a 1/4 cup's not going to be a whole lot. So now you people that actually know how to cook, you're probably going to get on me pretty hard about doing all this stuff wrong. But I think cooking is supposed to be an adventure. It's an experience, and I'll tell you why. There may be easier ways to do things, but I don't care. I just want to get it completed. And if the goal is to chop up an onion or chop up a green pepper, who cares how you get there, just so you chop it up, right? So I'm going to get all the seeds and all the junk out of this and try not to slice my finger and all that good stuff. And then we need a 1/4 cup, roughly, of this here green pepper. Now I'm probably going to get comments like, "You're not even using the right knife. If you'd use a paring knife, or if you'd use a butcher knife, or if you'd use a pocket knife, or if you'd use a switchblade, it would work so much better." I don't care. The goal is just simply to get this in the pot. I used to have one of those chopper things. You put all the stuff in and you put it in there and you just bam, bam, bam on top of it. And that worked pretty good. But at some point I banged on it way too hard and tore it up and it quit working. And now it's back to the old-fashioned way with a knife and a little cutting board. I don't have a cutting board, so I got these little plastic things that I bought at Walmart or somewhere like that. And again, not real pretty, but effective. Please don't laugh at me the way I'm doing this. Just go with it. Maybe it's supposed to be a comedy channel. I don't know, but just go with it. And I don't have a big selection of knives either. I have a handful of kitchen style knives that aren't the greatest, but they work. They're sharp. They'll cut your finger. So we need about a 1/4 cup. So let's move that to a 1/4, and I'll actually probably put more in it because I kind of like green pepper. That's surely not enough. No, well, put it in the bowl with the rest of it, with the onion. So we have our onion and our green pepper sliced and diced and ready to go into the Wendy's chili. We also added, this one's kind of strange for me. I've never added this particular product to a bowl of, or a pot of chili, but this works and it adds some pretty cool seasoning and it works out well. So the magic product is celery. So we need about 1/2 cup of diced celery. So we get our handy dandy little thing here. Go to 1/2 cup. And we will, dang, it's kind of stiff. We will add the celery. I'm going to go wash this. Half cup diced celery into the bowl. So now we got our veggies cut up, and what we have here is we have a 1/2 cup diced celery, a 1/4 cup of diced green pepper or bell pepper, depending on what you want to call it, and about 1/2 of a medium to large onion. It's about 1/2 cup. So that's the veggies we got right there. Now we got our big orange pot, and we're going to put the other ingredients in. And it's going to start with tomato juice. So this recipe calls for 1 quart of tomato juice. So 1 big can, quart size tomato juice. Yep, 1 quart. And I don't have a can opener, and I don't have a bottle opener, so, well, I do have a can opener. I got one in my hand. I don't have an electric one for no reason other than I just don't have one. So 1 quart of tomato juice. And on this tabletop here, it's actually an island that's got black finish top. It's like a marble top, but the glare is so bad it makes it real bad. So I'm just working off of dish towels here. So 1 quart tomato juice. This is 28 ounces of the tomato puree. I'm holding that upside down and I shouldn't. So tomato puree. The camera's over my head, so I don't know if that stuff's upside down or not from your perspective. So 28 ounces of tomato puree. I'm gonna get a spoon. One can of pinto beans and 1 15-ounce can of kidney beans. Is that focused? Focus. And I do plan on, I'll put this entire recipe, I'll probably print it out, or not print it out, but I'll put it on the screen somewhere. Maybe at the end I'll put the whole thing and leave it up there so you have time to pause your video and write it down if you're interested in this style of chili. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain and wash these. That way we get all the oils and things off of it. So I'll be right back. So our beans have been drained and rinsed. So that is kidney beans, pinto beans, and then we'll also add all of our veggies. That's why I kind of like chili. You throw it all together and cook it in a pot. Starting to look good. Now it's time for our spices. First up on the spices, chili powder. And this recipe calls for a 1/4 cup. Man, that's a lot. And I don't want that much in it. So I am going to put about half as much, just because I don't want that much in it. So that's a little over 1/8, and that's what I'm going with. Next up, garlic powder. Calls for 1.5 tablespoons. Is it a tablespoon? 1.5 teaspoons. So I've got a teaspoon here, 1/2 teaspoon. So there's half. 1.5. Next, oregano. So we are going to put a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. And oddly enough, it has sugar in it. So this is my big thing for my sweet tea. So it's calling for a half teaspoon of sugar also. Sugar. A half teaspoon of pepper. That's just dried pepper. Pepper. Table salt. 1 teaspoon of table salt. So there's half and 1. Now this is, what is that? Cumin. So 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of this stuff. So there's half. 1. And this is, let's see if I can get it to focus on it. Cayenne pepper. So, all right, refocus. There you go. I haven't even opened this one yet. Now this is calling for 1/8 of a teaspoon. So not much. I don't have 1/8 of a teaspoon, but I have 1/4 of a teaspoon. So I'm gonna get that about half full. And do that. So that's all of our spices, all of our veggies and everything else. Now the main ingredient, meat. And this recipe calls for 2 pounds of ground beef. I've already browned that on the stove, so it's ready to go. Now it's time to add that to the pot. So there is all of our ingredients. So 2 pounds of fresh ground beef, 1 quart of tomato juice. We've got 1 28-ounce can of tomato puree, 15-ounce can of kidney beans, 15-ounce can of pinto beans, half a cup of medium to large onion, half cup of diced celery, 1/4 cup of diced green pepper, 1/4 cup of chili powder, which I didn't put that much in it, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1½ teaspoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, ½ teaspoon of ground black pepper, a ½ teaspoon of dried oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, and 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And I didn't put, well, I probably put about that much in it. So that is the ingredients for a replica of the restaurant Wendy's chili. Now it's time to put this baby on the stove and let it cook down. What I'll end up doing is bringing the heat up to where it's at a probably a quick simmer, and then I'll turn it down to low heat and just with the lid on and let it simmer for 30 minutes or so, and just let all of those ingredients cook down, and it ought to be pretty good. So let's get this baby on the stove. So I got my chili done. Now again, the idea was to replicate Wendy's restaurant chili, and I'll have a list of all the ingredients at the end of the video, and at that point you can pause and write them down or change them or do whatever you want. So again, like the last video, presentation is everything. So here's what we have. Now for some reason my wife and I, we soup a lot out of a cup rather than a bowl. Is that weird? But aren't the cups cool? And here in the Midwest, we do, bam, PB sandwiches with our chili. So you can like dunk your sandwich in the chili. It's super good. Some people do crackers and whatever, but we do peanut butter sandwiches. So Are you ready to try your chili?
Sure.
All right, well, grab a cup and let's see what we got. I don't know that I can hold this camera and eat chili at the same time, so you're gonna have to be the determining factor. And we can watch her. We'll watch her eat. So it is kind of hot, but I scooped it a minute ago so it cooled down. Have you ever had Wendy's chili?
Nope.
So we have nothing to... She's never had Wendy's chili. How are we supposed to know whether it tastes like Wendy's chili if she's never had Wendy's chili to know if this tastes like Wendy's chili?
Then how about you eat it?
There's no comparison. I don't know how to do it. What do we do? I've had Wendy's chili. In fact, it's pretty good. I don't know. It tastes like chili. I need to go buy some Wendy's chili so I have a comparison. It's pretty good. So anyways, that's the recipe that I found to replicate Wendy's chili in your own kitchen. And that's the way I made it. So again, recipe, the list of the ingredients will follow this video. And the worst part about this chili is that it doesn't have the pasta in it, because real soupy pasta chili is the best chili in the world.
No, it's not.
See, I told you. She thinks that hard, like thick, gnarly chili is the best.
Yes.
And she's wrong.
No.
So comment below who's right, because I think I'm right. You know, a nice soup and elbow macaroni with all the stuff in it that chili has in it. That's the way it's supposed to be made, right? All right. So Wendy's chili, enjoy. It's pretty good.